Hey guys, Sabri Subi here, and welcome to this module of quantum growth called Facebook's Harmony of Spheres. And today I'm going to be walking you through how to go out and set up and deploy your first Facebook ads campaign and really monitor those results and iterate and really set yourself up for paid acquisition and really starting to feed your sales funnel with leads, and then obviously generating appointments and nurturing those appointments into obviously sales. And I'm going to be taking you by the hand and walking you through step by step through Facebook's ad manager with everything that you need to know from beginning to end of how to actually set up an account, set up a campaign, create the ad sets, create the ads, and deploy everything and start bringing in activity into the sales funnel. So let's take a look at what we're going to be covering today. So I'm going to be diving into the sacred campaign structure, Facebook funnels, seed audiences, scientific copy split testing, hyper-segmented remarketing framework, tracking results, and also scaling versus ROAS. So first of all, with Facebook's Harmony of Spheres is, Facebook's algorithm is the most advanced money-making system that is literally just crunching billions of pieces of data per second. And, you're really going up against the smartest engineers on the planet. So as I covered in the last module, it's really not about tricking or trying to trick Facebook or anything like that, because they literally have the smartest engineers in the world with the most crazy AI deep learning technology that we don't want to try and beat the machine. We want to work in harmony with it, and we want to give it exactly what it needs so we can get exactly what we need to be successful. So really what I'm going to be showing you now is, how to set up a campaign, and really what you want to do is work within the confines of Facebook's algorithm and ultimately giving it the parameters that it needs in order to optimize your campaigns, and really not to restrict it or to suffocate it. You want to give it all the freedom that it needs to go out there and find, your dream buyer for you by building out your seed audiences and building out the correct structure of your campaigns, which we'll go over now. So first of all, what you're going to need, if you don't already have one, is a Facebook Business Manager. And this is a place where you manage obviously all of your ad accounts and your pages and everything like that. So what you want to do is you want to go to business.facebook.com if you don't have one. And then what you want to do is you want to create an account, or you want to log in to your account. So the first step is you basically go in and then you log into your personal Facebook account. And if you don't have one, you're going to need to create one in order to run ads. That's just the way that their platform is set up. You do need to have a personal Facebook account in order to do that. So you go through those processes. Then, if you've never used a business manager before, you will need to create or add your business page as your primary page. And then you would need to set up your main ad account from that page. And you can add other people, so other employees to the business manager if you want to give multiple people access to the account, and really or multiple people access even to the pixels and all that kind of stuff. You can go ahead and do that. So you just follow those steps, get that all set up. Now, when it comes to actually creating your fan page that you're going to be running the ads, or your business page, I touched on it in the last module about making sure the completeness of the profile is you've got everything on there. You've got your business hours, you've got the phone number, you've got the website address, you've got a good bio, all the fields are kind of filled in. That completeness of the profile is certainly something that Facebook looks at when it's kind of determining, the legitimacy of this page to run ads for. Because what you must understand is that there are a lot of black hat operators out there that are running like rogue offers that are what we call black hat offers. And basically the way that these businesses operate is that they'll have like 15 to 20 different BMs, business managers that is, and then they'll have like hundreds of different ad accounts that are associated with those. And when an account gets taken down because they're not adhering to Facebook's guidelines, it's just kind of like they don't care. They just move on and they go to the next one. And you can imagine with these operators, they're not really care of how complete their profile is. These guys are just rogue, shady operators. They're just like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, them onto the next ad account. So, take the time, fill it out, make sure there's images, make sure that the business page itself is complete. because it does matter. So once you've gone ahead and you've got all that set up, then basically what you want to do is go to business.facebook.com/ads manager. And once you've done that, you just want to make sure that in the drop down on the top left that you've got the correct account that you're selecting if you've got multiple accounts. Now, once inside your ads manager, you want to click the green button to create a new campaign. Now, what I'm going to be running you through is, kind of how we deal with, cold traffic and warm traffic and hot traffic, and what a kind of Facebook funnel works like, and like kind of the things that you need to be aware of when you're building out the targeting for these campaigns. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to start with setting up a cold traffic campaign. So what you want to do is your buying type in this auction, you want to choose conversions as the campaign objective. Now, this allows Facebook's algorithm to optimize your ads to people that have the highest tendency to convert for the conversions event that you select later on, e.g. whether that's like leads or a purchase or whatever it might be. And we don't care about the people who are just going to click and not convert, as this is ultimately a lead generation campaign. And, you might be thinking, well, how does Facebook know? Well, Facebook knows everything. So it not only knows that people that are the most click happy and will click on every single ad in their news feed, but then it also knows the people that not only click, but that convert. So what I mean by you don't want to confine and suffocate the algorithm is like, you might be thinking, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cheat this algorithm and I'm going to optimize my campaign from clicks because I know that my landing pages convert. So I just want to get the cheapest traffic to that page as possible because that's going to get me the best result. And that's not the case, because if you want traffic, tell Facebook you want traffic and it will get you traffic. There are a lot of businesses out there, publishers, people that work off advertising models where they need to simply get as much traffic to their website as possible because they're charging people to advertise on their website, that will be running those campaigns and getting lots of traffic. But, for you and I, the smart advertisers that really need to be getting good cost per leads, we're looking at the return on investment, and we're really looking at customer acquisition in this scientific method. We want to just give the algorithm exactly what it is that we want, which is we want people that are going to convert. So you want to pick that campaign objective being conversion, so it will go out there and optimize that for you. Then once you've set that up as the campaign objective, we're going to go through and set up the naming conventions of our first campaign. So you can call this whatever it is that you want. I generally go with something that is descriptive about the campaign or the funnel stage, the offer, or the objective that I've set up. So for instance, in this one, we've called it cold tofu, being top of funnel because we're advertising our high value content offer. So that sits at the very, very top of the funnel. And the campaign objective for this one is website conversions and lead. Now, I recommend that you select CBO, which is campaign budget optimization, as the type of budgeting strategy that you want to go for, because this is going to be mandatory very, very soon. With Facebook kind of making sure that everyone is rolling out campaign budget optimization, where you're not really optimizing on an ad level. You can't say, hey, I'm spending $100. I want to spend $50 on this ad, $20 on this ad, and $30 on this ad. What they're moving to now is obviously having a complete budget optimization where it will optimize the campaign based on the total budget of that whole campaign. Now, if you have an ad budget of say like $1,000 a month, well, what you want to do is tell Facebook that your daily ad budget would be $33. And you can get into different types of bidding strategies and all of that kind of stuff later on when you've got the basics down. But for now, I would just select the lowest cost, as it's aimed to really get you the most results for your budget. So we're gonna basically select the lowest cost here as the campaign bid strategy. And now we're moving down to the ad set level and really naming these. And you can call this whatever it is that you want. I generally go with, again, a campaign name and add it to my targeting variations for like the funnel or funnel stage or the offer or the objective or any of that kind of stuff, and website conversions and lead. Then basically, what we're going to need to be doing in order to be able to track these leads and to track these website conversions is installing Facebook's Pixel onto our website and landing pages and whatnot. And we have provided instructions of how to do this in the resources section of this module. And essentially, Facebook's Pixel is a piece of code that is really the feedback mechanism that allows us to pass the information back to Facebook and then Facebook to pass it back to us of which audiences and which ads are converting the best. And I would recommend ensuring that this pixel is added to your main website. If you have another website, that's a standalone thing from this funnel, and if you get lots of traffic on that website, because you want to add this pixel wherever you can, because the more traffic that it gets exposed to, then the more seasoned that this pixel will be, which improves your ability to create more laser targeted audiences further down the track. And the more inputs and data that you give it, the more that its machine algorithm is going to be able to go and use its deep learning technology and figure out exactly what are the audiences that are going to be the most likely to convert for you. So then what we want to do is we want to select the destination as our website, and then we want to set the optimization for ad delivery as conversions. And you want to select a pixel event. In this instant, we would select lead here, and you need to have kind of run some tests on your page to ensure that the pixel event is firing when a form is submitted successfully. So if the indicator next to the event name is red, it means that the pixel has not received any data, which would basically mean that you've not tested everything and everything isn't installed correctly. So you want to make sure that you're all good and you've put through some test conversions to make sure that you are tracking everything. Now, moving forward to optimization and spending controls. Now, my philosophy is to squeeze as much juice out of the orange. So I always choose to run my ads set to continuously starting today. And we will set up the ad spend limits once we know how many ad sets that we're going to be running. Now, ad set limits are a good way to ensure that each ad set gets equal opportunity to spend equally and therefore test the audiences equally. It's all about getting clean data and having a good even spread. So you'll be monitoring which ad sets aren't performing after we've got some data in the ad account. We're going to be looking at this thing with like eagle hawk eyes, making sure that, everything is running according to plan, and we're monitoring everything that not only Facebook is telling us, but what we're also seeing through our own data. Now, to the audience testing. So with the audience testing, you're going to have this all depends on how big the budget is. So if you have a large budget, you can split test the age, the gender, locations, the device, the interest, the lookalikes, and everything like that. And if you have a large database and a high volume of website traffic and a large Facebook page following or Instagram following or any assets that you can leverage to give your ads like a head start, that's definitely where you want to go. But if you don't have these ad sets, then you're going to need to test your audiences using interest-based targeting only. Now, firstly, I'm going to show you how to leverage your current assets. And then if you don't have any of those assets, I'll show you what we're going to do in that instance. So you can create your seed audiences based off these assets that I've just mentioned. So if you've got like an email list, or if you've got like a lot of page engagers on your Facebook page or your Instagram page or any of that kind of stuff, this is where we're going to be using those people. We want to leverage them, as I was just saying. And what we're going to be doing to leverage them is we're going to create something that's called a lookalike audience. And this is going to be a large pool of Facebook users that look alike to your seed audience. So lookalike in terms of demographics, their interests, their buying habits, their locations, and all of that kind of stuff. And the thing what you want to think about with lookalike audience is the very, very first place that you want to start is like a list of customers. And it depends on if you've only got like 5 customers, you're not going to be able to do this. But if you've got enough data in there, the first thing that you want to do is create a lookalike based off your very best customers. So the people that have like your high value clients or people that have multi-buys and have bought off you, multiple different times. That's where you can upload that list to Facebook and create create a seed audience and a lookalike audience based off that. And the great news that is that you can use your seed audiences for remarketing as well. So anyone who's been to your landing pages but not converted, we can remarket to them. Or if you have a list or like a newsletter subscribers or a list of buyers or any of that kind of stuff, we can also remarket to these people to convert them. Now, basically, to do this, what you want to do is you want to create these seed audiences. So you want to select create new, and then from here you want to select custom audience. And there are different custom audiences that you can create. So remember to always name them in detail so you can recognize what type of audience that you've just created. E.g., if it's like your newsletter database over the last 3 days, or it's the buyers, the total amount of customers that you've had in the last 180 days, you would name it like buyers 180 days. And this is really important because as you start to build these campaigns, you want to make sure that you're building them on a very clean structure, with naming conventions that you can refer to, and you're not like, oh, I wonder what this custom audience is. You just know. So like, don't call it audience 1 or audience 2. Give it something that's descriptive so when you look at it, you know. Now, if you've had your pixel on your website for a while and you do get lots of traffic, then you can create a lookalike of people who visit your website. And then you want to basically just select your website source so you can get really granular with your targeting here. And you can select like specific landing pages or URLs, like certain service pages that they may have looked at, how long that they've stayed on your website. Usually the longer that they've spent, the higher quality the traffic is. Any actions or events that they have taken on your site, like signing up to your newsletter or contacting you. And you will need to create audiences for those who have completed your conversions event as well, because we don't want to be marketing to people that have already converted. So if people have already downloaded like your high value content offer, then your lead event fires to the pixel, and you'll want to exclude anyone who has taken this action from the top of your funnel advertising, because we don't want to be running ads to people telling them to download our high value content offer if they've already downloaded. Like, this is going to be a waste. We want to remarket to those people and get them to book in a call. Now, if you have a large database, like 1,000 people as a bare minimum is recommended, you can upload this list to Facebook, and Facebook will try and match those email addresses to a Facebook profile and add them to your audience pool. So to upload that list, you want to basically select customer list here, and then you want to follow the setup wizard of exactly how to do that. Now, if you have a large following on Facebook or Instagram, you can create audiences based on those people also. So what you want to do in this instance is you want to select either the Facebook page or the Instagram business profile sources, and you'll be able to select your Facebook or your Instagram page and then select if you want people who have engaged with your ads or with your pages or sent you messages and all of that kind of stuff. And they're typically a very good audience. Now, if you're going to be running any video content in your ads, or if you post a lot of like organic video content on your Facebook or your Instagram page, you also want to leverage this as an audience. So you can select video as the source, and you'll be able to choose what percentage or seconds of the video has been viewed. And my philosophy is get Facebook as much data to crunch as possible. And I've found that like 3-second video view works the best because the audiences are just much bigger. Like, I see a lot of people obsessed. They're like, let me get people that have watched 75% or 85% of the video and all that kind of stuff, or 95% of the video. The audience pools, yeah, they convert a lot better, but they're tiny, and then they just exhaust, and then your cost per lead just goes through the roof. So if you've got a huge audience pool, you can split test this against the people who have consumed like 75 and 95% of your content to see which gets better results. I know that the 75 and 95 will get better results, but then it's going to fatigue. But nonetheless, you can just chuck it in there and split test those out to see for yourself. For each of these source options, you'll be given the option to select the time frame to take the source audience from as well. So the last 2 days or 30 days or 180 days or 365 days. And basically, you just want to select, like, it just depends on how big your audience is. If you've got huge amounts of people in those audiences, you can get a bit more stringent and maybe say 180 days. But typically, I like to give the algorithm as much oxygen as possible, so that I typically be picking the 365 days. So now we've got our seed audiences created, we can use them to create our lookalikes. So what you want to do is you want to go to your audiences menu. So you open this in a new tab, so it's not going to take over anything that you've got. So just down here, you're going to click on the audiences. Now, here you're going to see a list of all the audiences that you have created. And you can also create new audiences from here as well. And this is where we'll create our lookalike audiences. So you want to select this blue button here, which says Create Audience. And then you want to select your audiences from your lookalikes. And this is going to be one of the seed audiences that we have just created. And you click on this and it'll give you a drop down of the people that you've just created before. Now, in the future, you won't select your audience location at this level, but at the ad set level when you are bidding for your ads. But for now, select the country that you're going to be targeting. And then you should come across over with the country that most of your source audience is in. So you may not have this option, but that just means that you've already moved over to selecting the location at the ad set level and not the lookalike level. It's just some changes that are happening right now. So when it comes to really selecting the audience size, I would suggest creating a 1%, a 5%, and a 10% lookalike of each seed audience when you're building out your audiences. So what you can see, this slider here that goes from 0% all the way up to 10%. So from that list of people that you've put on there, like page engagers or your buyers, Facebook will then basically go, okay, we want to go out and find an audience that are people that are within 1% of this, and the higher that you get up, the looser that it gets. So naturally the 1%, people within that 1% variance looking like your lookalike audience, they're going to typically be the most accurate. And if your budget permits, you can create like the 1%, the 5%, and the 10%. Even if you don't have the budget to test them all right now, it's good just to have all of your admin done and have those lookalike audiences set up anyway for a future date. So what I mean by that is like you're starting with $1,000 a month. You're not going to be split testing all the ages and genders and then, 1%, 5%, 10% lookalikes and then 180 days, 365. Like there's too many variables and you're spreading everything too thin. So we want to start off very basic, but I'll get to that in a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with a 1%. So the top 10% of time visitors on website. So what we're going to do is when we can see here, is that if you change this to 5%, look at the estimated people. It goes from 220,000 people at the bottom there, all the way up to 1.1 million. And as you slide this slider out, it goes all the way up to 2.2 million. And what you want to do is you want to basically create it at 1% and create that list there. Then you want to do it at 5%, and then you want to do it at 10%. And then you want to repeat this process until you've done this for every single seed audience that you've just created. So you might have one for your Facebook page, one for your Instagram page, one for your email list, one from your buyers list, and you want to create that, 1, 5, and 10%. And just repeat that process for all of those seed audiences. Now, once you've done all that and you've set up those lookalike audiences, you want to go back to your campaign builder to finish your ad set targeting. Now, I would build out the settings that will remain constant in my ad set first, e.g. the location or age and gender that I'm targeting. And we're going to be setting up our ad split testing later on. So don't worry about that in terms of the targeting split testing. Select the location that you want to target. The broader, the better, to open up the audience size and really let Facebook's algorithm find the most likely people to convert and those users that are going to convert when we show our ads to them. Again, a huge mistake I see is people getting like a hyper targeted and just suffocating the pixel. They'll not only pick like a city that they operate in, but then they'll like go online and they'll Google like the wealthiest suburbs in that city, and then they'll start targeting those people. And they get some good results for like say the first 2 or 3 days. And then what happens is those audience fatigue, and then they shit the bed, and then they're having to just constantly re-update their ads, change out their ad copy, and it becomes this huge time-hungry monster just sucks the life out of you because you just have to be tinkering with your ads all day long. Like, I have found that the best way to get results long-term is to basically let Facebook's algorithm do its thing. Like, it knows who's going to convert. So just give it the largest audience size that you can that is still going to be within the servicing area that you operate in. And don't get too crazy and carried away with split testing and really confining that pixel and making it completely suffocated. Because if your target relies on people in your area, like a gym, for instance, then, you don't want to go really crazy and then try and lay out like any custom audiences or targeting on top of that location targeting, as it's likely already going to be way too small of a pool of people, and it's just going to stifle the algorithm. Like, if you go, okay, I want to target people within this suburb, and then you try to layer on your lookalike audiences on top of that, it's just, you're going to watch the audience size just drop and drop and drop, and there's going to be like 5 or 10,000 people in that thing, and it's just not going to work for you. So what you want to do is you want to select your age and your gender. And if you know specifically that only females use your product or service, then only select females. Otherwise, keep it broad and let Facebook tell you what age group and what gender are going to convert. So many times when I've been consulting with clients, they think that they know what their target audience is. And they're like, yep, like I know that my target market is 45 to 55-year-old women. This is definitely my target. And then we run that. We run it open from like 25-year-olds up to 65, right? And we do both male and female. And then we find out, actually, no, your target market isn't that. And it might be that it's actually 30 to 45-year-old men. And the thing is that there has never, ever been an advertising platform that has ever existed that allows you to get that granularity data back from the platform to let the actual data tell you who your target market is. And this will impact all areas of your business, because if you're running ads and you have typically thought that your target audiences were like 40 to 55-year-old males or women, and then you run it and you find out that it's actually not, and it's actually 30 to 45-year-old men, then that's going to change everything. Like, it's going to change your offer, it's going to change your copy, it's going to change your landing pages, and you want to be using this data and then feeding it into everything else that you're doing within your business. And, really, it's with this targeting piece where I find all the novice marketers really fall flat on their face. And what I mean by that is they basically just completely suffocate Facebook's algorithm. And they're like, look, the people that I want to target to, they must live in this suburb. They must like Tony Robbins. They must have read these 5 books and like these shows on Netflix and also use this software. And when you do that, you're killing your campaigns. Like, it's just like you're completely suffocating the life out of them. And the more free reign that you give Facebook, the better. Give it a good quality seed audience and it will go out and it will find those buyers. So, I've even found, like, I've got campaigns that the only targeting is a country. That's it. There's nothing else on there. And these things are producing lots and lots of buyers. So people get carried away with going super hyper targeted with the targeting and really niching it down. And that's really not the way that you're going to see long-term success. And if you've got a tiny budget, I'm not suggesting like you target the whole of Australia or the whole of America. You do want to start off with a much smaller audience and get very, very targeted, because you've only got a tiny amount of budget anyway. But once you start to scale that thing up and you start to choke 2,000 and 4,000 and 5 and 10 and 20 grand a month at this thing, you're going to see that the more free reign that you give Facebook, the better results you're going to get. Now, when it comes to choosing your placements, so for the top of the funnel, so the cold prospecting traffic, I like to use Facebook's newsfeed and desktop and mobile and Instagram newsfeeds only, not like all the other placements. They're the only ones that we're using, desktop and mobile newsfeed on both Facebook and Instagram. And, when I say like cold and prospecting, basically what kind of ads that we're going to be running to people that are complete strangers and just cold audiences is we're going to be using our high value content offer, and we're going to be sending all of our traffic and all of our ads to our high value content offer opt-in page. That is the lowest commitment offer that we can make, and we only want these ads appearing in the newsfeed. And you basically want to ensure that you only have these selected when you are running these. So that's in with these edit placements. Then we come down here, platforms, we select Facebook and Instagram. And then in terms of the placements on those platforms, we are selecting Facebook newsfeed and Instagram feed as well. And you just want to make sure that it looks exactly like that and it's all ticked, because if not, this can suck cash out of your credit card very quickly. So just make sure that you've got those selected. Now, you can split test this against your automatic placements, but if you're going to do that, then I would recommend that you do 2 separate campaigns so you've got the clean data. Now we're going to move on to building out our first ad. Now, for easy reporting and analysis of your ads, we're going to name them as follows. So for the image 1, what we're basically going to do is we're going to have image 1, and then we're going to have body copy 1, and then headline 1. So that's for your first image, for your first body copy, and for your first headline. And then the next image would be image 2, and so on and so forth. And it just makes it very easy to look at. So then when you select it and you're kind of reporting and you're looking at what's working and what's not, you go like, okay, cool. I know that the image number 1's working with body copy 2 and headline number 3. That's the winning ad angle so far. That's the control that we're going to try and beat. And then, so moving forward from there, what you really want to think about when you are setting up like image 1 and image 2 and image 3 and all of that kind of stuff, this is basically my approach. You want to have 2 angles for your ads. So, you might go 1 positive and then 1 negative, or it might be 2 positive, but just 2 completely 2 different angles altogether, right? And then you want to have 5 headlines for each of those angles, 1 body copy, 2 leads, and 5 images. So I'm going to explain all of this. So angle 1 might be you're leading with big benefit, right? So, for instance, if you're in a weight loss offer, it's a business growth offer, or if you're offering SEO, it might be like, how to explode your organic traffic in the next 30 days. And that's a positive, big benefit. Or then you might want to go like how to avoid the ticking time bomb that is Google's next algorithm update. That's a negative angle. So one's a positive, one's a negative. You don't need to just go positive and negative. You could go 2 positives, but you'd have them 2 completely varying angles. Then the headline, pretty self-explanatory, the headline of the actual ad. Then you've got the one of the body copy. We're going to have 1 body copy. That's going to be the big kind of angle, right? That's where we're going to be doing a lot of work in terms of the body copy. That's the 600 to 1,000 words odd. So that's the thing that's going to take the longest to write. Then the lead-ins is just that lead-in copy that we spoke about in the last module, where I break down all the ad copy and everything that you need. It's just that opening 2 lines of copy. And as I said, I have seen just those 2 lines of copy literally give me a reduction in cost per lead by up to 500%. So it's absolutely not to be scoffed at. It's definitely worth testing a different lead. And then 5 different images. Now, to organize and keep track of what copy has been written, tested, and the results of that copy, I keep a track of the copy in a Google Sheet. And this also means that it's easy to access this copy from anywhere. If I'm on the go, I can say, okay, what's working and what hasn't worked. So then you basically want to be selecting this. I've given you this Google Sheet also as a template in the resources section of this module. You can download it and feel free to use it for yourself. And basically, you're just keeping a log of like what worked, what didn't work, have you tested it, what the headline is, what the body copy is, and then you just know exactly where you're at. And it's not like in Google Docs and spread over like 50 different things, and then in Word docs and you're like, oh, I wonder did I split test it? Did I try this or not? You just keep it nice and structured, all organized in here, and you can refer to this thing. And then you also, when you're writing your copy, you can look at the controls, like the ads that are working the best. And then you can see like what they've got in common with them. And it just allows you to iterate and get the copy sharper and sharper over time, and get your ads just performing much better. Now, what we want to do is we want to add the first image and call it image 1. Now, I've also had more success with like very native and news looking static images over videos. So you have lots of people that are like, oh, you have to be running Facebook video ads. Like, this is just the best thing ever. Like, if you're not doing this, like, you don't know what you're doing. Well, I've actually found that using images, like, I get phenomenal results, and there's typically a little bit more longevity in the campaign. campaigns, but whatever it is, like use the images that are just taken on your iPhone, right? Do not go and get professional photos. I've tried it. I went and did all that and it didn't work, right? And I've split tested the ones that I take, just the candid photos with me and my family, me and my wife, or just like somebody taking a photo of me when I'm not like looking at the camera and it's just very native. That's the stuff that does the best. You know, I still run video ads. I run a combination of both, and I definitely recommend always split testing the collateral that you have. But no matter what it is, always run native and news looking static images. Do not put buttons on them. Do not have big text on there. None of that stuff. I'm telling you, I've spent, much more than $15 million on ads. It's just $15 million in the last 2 years. And I have really tested this to the high heavens. I've had clients that be like, oh, this doesn't look really professional. Could you please use these ads? And they get these highly designed ads. And then you run them and you just let the data show you. And I've done that for thousands of clients. So just trust me, go with native/news looking static images, just like all the examples that I've provided in the copywriting module of exactly, what works and what doesn't work. So then once you've done that, I've just blurred out these because these are all my images. Then you basically just want to upload and click continue. And I've always had more success, as I was saying, with the things that are not really styled up. So, don't go with anything super crazy from the ad level in terms of creative. So you upload that, select what you want to do, and then we want to click continue here, and it's going to take us to the next step. Now, this is where we've got the copy. And the copy, you're not going to be writing your copy in Facebook's ad manager. So what you would want to do is you want to copy and paste body copy 1 into the primary field here. So, I showed you the apps and all the tools that I use to writing out the copy, and I look at these as two separate things. I look at one as like the copywriting component of Facebook ads, and then I look at the media buying. And I get into two completely different frames of mind when you're doing either or. One is definitely more analytical and like you need to be super detail oriented and making sure that you're ticking all the right placements and all that kind of stuff. Do that at a separate time, whether it's a different day, it might be, a different time of day, whatever it might be, but the copy is the thing that's the most time consuming. It's not setting up the ad, so to speak. And so you want to write all of your copy, in the Hemingway app, or you want to be having it in a Google Doc sheet. And then you just want it, when it comes time to building them out, you just want to be copy and pasting it into this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to select that copy and then paste it into this primary text field, and look at the spacing of the ads. I've gone at this I'm like a broken record talking about, having eye relief on the copy. You notice that this is all split out. I start the news, the lead in, with bad news, and it's all broken up. It's very easy for my eye to digest. It's not a big intimidating wall of text that I'm like, man, I'm not going to read all that thing. And that's the way that you get people to read long form copy, is by breaking it up and making it easy for the eye to look at and making it easy to digest and just moving from one line to the other. And that's the slippery slope. That's the greased up body copy that I spoke about. Now, once you've done that, and that's all been pasted into the primary text box, we're going to move on to the headline. We're going to add our headline as well. We're just going to copy and paste that from our Google Sheet or from Hemingway app or wherever your copy is. We'll do the same thing for the description of the ad, and also for the website URL as well. And then we're also going to do that for the button. So I'm going to suggest that you either select no button. It looks more native when you do that. If you're running video, there is no option to do that. Therefore, you want to click learn more. They're the only two that you want to be using. Learn more or no button at all. And so what you can see here is look at my ad, right? So we've got bad news. If you thought you could just and then we've got the image, which is a very native looking image, right? Just Google there. Barely legal new SEO strategy floods your business with hungry buyers. It's a very positive angle. And you notice that I don't have a picture of my high value content offer in the actual ad. I have some variations that are running that are working very well that do have it in there, but more often than not, you just want to use native images like this. It looks like a news story. And your ads, you always want to be running them to your high value content offer as the top of the funnel. Now, so But if you are running a video ad, you're going to need to select a button and then do learn more. But the advantage of having no button is that the ad just looks super, super native. And when it's so native like that, it's like they can't even sense that it's going to be an ad as much. They can see the sponsored just below the brand name page. But other than that, there's nothing on this that screams that it's an ad. And that's where you really kind of slide under the radar and you get a lot of people clicking on it. And then that's just going to be feeding the algorithm with all those inputs. Facebook's going to be like, this ad's obviously really good. Lots of people are clicking on it. And then away you go. It's just that cascading effect where you get the outcome that you want. Now, after you've done that and you've created your ads, what we want to do is ensure that your conversion pixel is turned on and you have selected the correct pixel. So you want to click this and then make sure that you've got the right pixel selected. Then after we've done this, we're going to be moving on to URL parameters, and you've got to ensure that you've got the right URL parameters set up. And if this is, very foreign to you, don't worry. I am going to basically be telling you how to set up your UTM parameters using a software called Wicked Reports. And basically this is like full on X-ray tracking that allows you to get really granular data down to the ad level of which ads are not only getting you the lowest cost per lead, but are getting you the lowest cost to acquire a customer, and what your return on investment is based on your genders and, different ads that you've got set up and all of that jazz. And this is all going to be done in a standalone module on this week that's just about tracking. So we'll revisit it then, but if you choose not to use Wicked Reports or what I'm suggesting that you do, then you can basically just build a URL parameter yourself using another website or another plugin that you might already be familiar with and that you already use. And if this is all completely Spanish to you, do not worry. I'm going to be running you through this in forensic-like detail in the tracking module of this week. So once you've done all that, we're going to click confirm. And then once we've done this, we're going to move over to switching the campaign off for now. So we just want to turn off this campaign that we've just set up while we go and build out the rest of our campaign. Otherwise, it's just going to start. It's going to start spending money before we finish this thing. And then after you've turned that off and you make sure that that's not green, it's indeed gray. Now we're going to click on the ads level and we'll move on to the variation testing. So as discussed, in the Facebook ad copywriting video, like the images that do best are the ones that don't have the flashing graphics and they don't have the buttons like the ones that you can see. So some of them do have buttons on here in terms of a learn more. You want to split test these things, but we're going to start building out all the different variations. And the way that we do that is you want to select that ad that we just created, and then you want to hit the duplicate button. And then once you've done that and you've hit duplicate, then you've got the original campaign and you want to leave the settings, and then you just want to hit the blue button to duplicate it. We don't want to, because all we're trying to just basically split test out the different creatives and the headlines and the body copy. So we do this, we click on duplicate, and then we edit the name to image number 2. Okay, so that's we come in here and we start editing this thing out. And come in here and then you change the image. So what is the second image that you're going to be running, and you split testing, whatever it is, you select that there. And then same for the primary text of the ad and all the other variables that you're going to be testing. You just go in here, change it, and make sure that you change that name. And then you just want to repeat this process until you have each of your test variables used. So all the headlines that you've written and all of the images. So you can see here we've got the 5 images, we've got the body copy 1, and we've got headline 1 and headline 1. And then you just basically want to be split testing these out. Now, if you have a large budget of just say like $300 a day, then you're going to be able to test all of your images and all of your copy initially. And you're going to get a pretty clear idea of like what variation is the best performing. Now, if you don't have a huge budget, then I would suggest just testing all of the images first and then testing your headlines and then your body copy. E.g., so what you would do, you would run like 5 images with the headline number 1 initially to just find out what the best performing image is in one campaign. So this is going to give you 5 ad sets in the first test. And the reason for that is you're going to be doing like you're going to be split testing 5 5 headlines, 5, body copies, and then you've got like your images and all of that kind of stuff, it's just going to take you too long to get any statistical significance on that test. So you just want to eliminate it and just go, cool, I'll run with the first headline and the one body copy, and let me just split test the images. And then once you've got your best image, then you move on to those other variables in the ad. And it just allows you to get much cleaner data much quicker if you've got a small budget. Then in the new campaign, you want to basically run that winning image with all the different headlines that you've got and finally testing all of those elements. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to move forward as if we are spending $250 per day on this campaign. So if you've got the budget to test all at once, then go for it. Now you would want to select all, and then you would want to duplicate these 5 ads and put all the different variables in here. So we select them all. Then we click on the duplicate, and you want to make sure that you still only have the new duplicated 5 ads selected. And you want to click the down arrow next to the edit and then select find and replace. Then you click edit and it's going to pop up with this box, and then you want to ensure that you're changing and replacing the headline 1 with headline 2. So that's for the name of this. And then you want to click save. Once you've changed out the names, you want to click edit again and go find and replace. And now the box is going to pop up again. And from our Google Sheet, what we want to do is we want to take the headline and we want to replace this headline with this headline. And basically this is how we're going to start split testing out all these different variables. Then we want to click save. Now you want to repeat this process until you've got each version of the ad image paired with each version of the ad headline. And then you want to select all, and you want to duplicate and follow the same process, but for the body copy, so that you can start to test 2 variations of the body copy as well. And this should give you 50 ads, and that's the most that you can have in one ad set. So go through that process and make sure that each version of the ad image is paired with each version of the ad headline, and so on and so forth. And after you've done that, now what we want to do is we want to jump back to the ad set level. So you're going to click on this, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start setting up our ad targeting. And before we do that, what you must understand is to work out how many ad sets that you should test, you should use the following rule of thumb. And this is for the testing phase. And that's where you want to basically be budgeting $2 to $5 per ad per day. So this takes your $30 per day budget, and you basically get to have 3 ad sets to test. So if your monthly budget is say like $1,000, then I'm going to suggest starting with those 5 ads, those 5 image ads that we set up before with the very first headline at say $2 per day. And that's the $10 per day per ad set. And for an ad set budget optimization, this is going to work. So with the 3 ad sets, you're spending $30 per day, which is just under the $1,000 that we have as a budget per month. Now, to work out the minimum spend for campaign budget optimization campaigns, let's just say that we're working with the $30 a day per campaign, which is around the $1,000 per month. So you need to set your minimum spend to 90% of your campaign budget divided by the number of ad sets you've got. So say 90% of your $30 per day daily budget, that's going to equal $27 per day. And then you're going to take that $27 and you're going to divide that by the 3 ad sets that we're going to be running. And that's going to be $9 per ad set as the minimum spend per day. And the way that you do that is you're going to be clicking on the budget and the scheduling, and then you're going to click on this see more or show more options here, and then this is going to pop down, and then from this we want to basically click on ad spend limits for this ad set, and then we just want to chuck in our $9 for this. Now that's for the minimum, right? That's for the absolute low scale. So now for the unlimited / large scale budget, where basically what you want to be doing here, so say you might have $100 per ad set for an ad set budget campaign. And ideally you want to be testing 3 to 5 ad sets at an absolute minimum. So this gives you $300 to $500 per day as a campaign spend. And that's going to work out to be around $9,000 to $15,000 per month. And you can work your way up to this. Don't let these numbers scare you. You can work your way up to this depending on the hunger that you have to scale the business. Now, what's important to understand that is if your monthly budget is only $1,000, then you're not going to be able to have 50 ads per ad set, as the $2 per ad set per day, that's going to be $100 for just one ad set. And that's already more than your daily budget for the whole campaign. So the same rule applies for these large scale campaigns on CBO. It's 90% of the campaign budget divided by the number of ad sets. So e.g. the minimum budget would be $90 for a campaign with a CBO budget of $300. So your ad sets are at least spending $90 of the allocated $100 per ad set. Now that we've got our budgets worked out, we now know how many ad sets that we need and we can create, and we'll continue with the targeting variables now. So what you want to do is you want to select the custom audiences in the include field. And this will allow you to choose from custom audiences, which includes your lookalikes that we've created and your seed audiences for remarketing, for instance. And then what it does is it gives you the potential reach of the people that are within that campaign. And this is saying we've got 950,000 people. Now, we've already set up all of our lookalike audiences, so we won't test all of them at once, and because we're not going to have the budget to do that. So we've just worked out how many of the ad sets that we can create with the budget that we have. So we've just set up, say, 50 ads at $2 per day. That's $100 per day per ad set, and I'd recommend setting up at least 3 to 5 ad sets. Or you can run your initial image only test campaign with, say, the 5 ads in it and set that at a $2 per day. And then you can have the 3 ad sets. It's going to get you to that $1,000 per month budget. Now, if you have a limited budget, then what I recommend doing is starting and using only a 5% lookalikes. As your 1%, it's just going to be way too small. And if 1% lookalike is not too small, say it's like 1 million plus, then you can use the 1%. Other than that, use the 5% for your lookalike list. Now, for ideal optimization, if you're spending $10 per day per ad set, you will want your potential reach to be 1 million or upwards. And this is where most people get it wrong. They go hyper focused on the targeting, and it's like maybe 100,000 people in that audience. Now, anything below 500,000 will fatigue very, very quickly, meaning that you're going to have to constantly be updating your ad copy and your creatives super, super frequently. And you're going to be looking at it and going like, wow, this is working really good in the first couple of days. And then shit hits the fan and all of my campaigns start to light on fire and just bombing. So each time that you do this, then you're going to, like every time that you kind of have to go in there and redo the ads and refresh them, then you're going to be running the risk of setting up an ad that doesn't work. So what you're really going to need to think about is you're going to need to do this if your campaigns are location specific. So if you're a gym and you're targeting specific suburbs, then you are going to have to go in there and refresh them because those audiences are going to fatigue very quickly. Now, we'll add exclusions to our audiences at the end so that we can still see our potential reach for each audience that we choose, and then we can minus out any of those exclusions moving forward. So we've got our lookalike, we've selected that to, Australia, New Zealand, 5%, 180 days. And then, so basically with this, it's obviously going to be different. I'm just showing you a couple of my test accounts that we've got up in here. Then it's going to show us the potential reach, which was the 950,000 people. Now, for the initial testing phase, you want to have a selection of both lookalike audiences and also interest-based targeting. So I would suggest 3 lookalikes and 2 interest-based targeting ad sets, or 2 lookalikes and say 1 interest-based targeting ad sets for smaller budgets. And if you didn't have any seed audiences or large enough to kind of create those lookalike audiences, then you're going to need to do interest-based targeting only. And I'll show you how to do this now. So what you want to do is you want to duplicate one ad set, and then you want to edit this ad set and delete the lookalike audience by clicking the X next to its name, okay? Now you can select your detailed targeting options. And this is really where you want to start spending the time in researching through and finding out, different targeting options are going to suit your business and the niche that you operate in. So for example, it might be you're going to look at a magazine that you think that your target audience would be like interested in or would be reading and whatnot. And the kind of framework that I look at for this is like I look at like celebrities, magazines, books, Facebook pages, software, and just overall general interests. And you can kind of browse through and you can look at options that Facebook will provided you. It might be property investment or digital marketing or whatever it might be. And then once you have selected what those general interests look like, you want to make sure that you basically have the correct name on here. So here on the ad level, we can see Money Magazine. So you know who it is that you are targeting. So now that we've got all of our ad sets, they're all set up and we've checked that our potential reach is enough to allow Facebook to deliver our ads efficiently, then we're going to add now our exclusion events. So what you want to do is you want to come here and you want to tick this little box and select all of these ads, and then you want to click edit. And then what you want to do is you want to scroll down to your audience section. And as you scroll down, just double check that your other settings have not been changed, like your pixel event. And then what you want to do is you want to click exclude. And the reason that we do this is I like my cold traffic campaigns to be entirely cold. I don't want to muddy the waters. So anyone who has seen my website, we're going to just exclude them because they've already come to the site. So anyone who has engaged with my Facebook or Instagram page or the ads, or they've watched any of my videos on Facebook or Instagram, I'm going to exclude all of these people as well. And this is going to then, because we're going to set up a series of remarketing campaigns, right? And we're going to already market to those warm and these hot audiences. We're talking about completely cold audiences. And then we want to push them further down the funnel. And those people, we can use them in our remarketing. But when we're running cold campaigns, we want these things to be completely ice cold. So there you have it. Boom. You got your first cold traffic campaign all set up. Now, if it's late in the day, then I'm not going to suggest that you're going to publish this campaign. I just leave it, and then I'd wake up first thing in the morning and I would turn it on to let the initial launch have an entire day to optimize its delivery. That might sound funny to you, but in my offices, we split test even when campaigns go live. And when you're setting a campaign live, you're getting what's called initial conditions into the campaign. Because Facebook's algorithm is out there and it's serving your ads to people, your prospects are completely different at 2 p.m. on a Monday than they are at 5:30 on a Friday. And it sounds funny, but the input that you feed the pixel and the initial conditions that you give that campaign are going to affect the overall performance of that campaign. So typically you don't want to launch campaigns later on in the day. We found that ones that launch earlier on in the day, you get a more reasonable kind of sample size of an entire day to kind of work off. And you're giving Facebook just the best representation of that data. And you want to split test this. You might try launching some in the afternoons. We've seen exact same campaigns launched in the afternoon and launched in the morning. Everything in those campaigns is identical, but the result is dramatically different. And the only variable is the initial conditions set on that campaign from the time that we pressed publish and went live on this thing. So if it's early in the day and you've gone through this, then you can basically turn on the campaign and publish that sucker. So boom, that's it. Your first campaign is live, is ready out there to start sucking in leads for you. Now, that was just the cold traffic segment. So now let's dive into my hyper segmented remarketing framework. And these are for the people that have already engaged with us and we want to remarket to them. And this is the way that we're going to be doing it. So firstly, I want to show you how that we have these remarketing campaigns set up. This is for large scale accounts that have the remarketing remarketing inventory available to them. And if you don't have them, you're going to be building them from running those cold traffic campaigns, so you don't need to worry. Now, after that, I'm going to quickly show you how you can easily set up the remarketing campaigns also for the small campaigns that you can then easily scale once you've built out that top of funnel and what that's going to look like further down the track. So for efficiency's sake, I would create all of our audiences first and then build the campaign. So what we want to do is, again, go to your audiences menu, and then under the ads manager up in this little burger menu here, click on this, and then it's going to click on all tools. After this, we're going to click on audiences. Then after you do that, you're going to be taken through to a page to create a new audience, and then you're going to create new audience. So then once you've created your new audience, now you need to start thinking about these audiences, and you need to start thinking of them in stages and in steps. And this brings us to the hyper-segmented remarketing framework. And you're probably looking at this thing going, holy shit, what is this now? Well, let me run you through this. So basically at the very top of the funnel is people who have not interacted with your website or Facebook or Instagram pages or ads or your brand in general, right? And this is what we call cold traffic. And this is the top of the funnel. This is a very, very top. And the next stage is the middle of the funnel, or your warm traffic. And I break this down into people who have interacted with your brand, but they're not visited your website in any way. So you would think about video views or Instagram page likes and Facebook page engagements and ad engagements. So maybe people liking ads of yours, but they actually haven't clicked through to your website yet. Now, the next stage would be the hotter traffic, but they're still in the middle of the funnel. And this is people basically who have visited your website or spent a long amount of time on your website. And so with these people, essentially, you're going to be breaking them up as well. And then we've got your hot traffic. And this would be someone who has converted for a lead, but they haven't converted into an actual consultation and booked in a time to speak with you. Now, for each of these steps, we need to create audiences based on 4 days, 30 days, 180 days, and 365 days. And at the end of creating your audiences, you're going to have 37 new audiences. And this thing is insane. It's insanely targeted, and the results that you get from it is just ridiculous. So at the top of the funnel, we've got the 3-second views for all video views. And then as you can see, as we go further down the funnel, the engagement rates are increasing. So then we've got 75% of all video views, Instagram page engages, Instagram ad engages, Facebook page engages, Facebook ad engages, website visitors, top 25% of time on site under website, leads under website, complete registrations. And then it just goes down into the name of these, then the day. We're breaking it down in 3 days, 30 days, 180 days, and 365 days. So let's take a look at this. So what we want to do is we want to go back to the ads manager, and then we want to select create. After we do this, you want to fill in the campaign ad set name and the ad name. So if you have data on the best performing ads, I would use your best performing ads in the remarketing campaigns. This is what we've found works the best. So then you select this and you create your ad set name, and then you've got your ad name. So you might know that your image 1, body copy 1, and headline 1, this is the best performing ad. Therefore, you are going to use this ad in this remarketing campaign. So then you want to click save to draft, and then you essentially want to go out here and you want to duplicate these ads that you're going to be running in your remarketing campaigns. And otherwise, what you can do is you can create your ads, and you want to try to have 3 to 5 variation in these ad sets to basically rotate through for your remarketing. Now we want to jump back to the ad set level. So we want to click on these ad sets, and then what we want to do is we want to click on edit here. Now, we're still trying to get our warmer traffic to convert for our high value content offer. So we still want to optimize for leads. So what we want to do is we want to select the conversion event as being leads. And then what we want to do, we want to start this campaign the next day at midnight. So the campaign will launch first thing in the morning, and we'll set a budget of $10 to $15 per day for the ad set budgets. So we come in here, we're going to select our $10. We're going to select that it's starting the next day at midnight. So now what you want to do is you want to create an ad set for all of the 4-day audiences that you have created for the top of the funnel using the hyper-segmented remarketing framework. So you want to go through and create all of those audiences. But so for this 4-day audiences that you've created, these are the people that are not your website audiences. So you want to exclude your leads and the consult audiences and anyone else that has visited your website, because this is for the very, very top of the funnel. So we're going to select these 4-day, 3-second video viewers. And you'll notice that these ad sets are excluding people who have been to the website. And we target these people in the next step, in the micro funnel. So we've set up an exclusion list of the website visitors so that as soon as that they go to the website, then we're going to move them onto the next phase of the remarketing funnel. We're not going to be targeting them at the very top. As soon as they've clicked in, we're going to push them further down the funnel. So this is basically what it looks like. We've got our 4-day 75 video viewers. We've got 4-day Instagram engagers, 4-day Facebook ads engagers, 4-day Facebook engagers, 4 days 3-second video views, and then 4 days Instagram savers, people that have been saving our content on Instagram and all that kind of jazz. And then what we're going to do is we're going to exclude people who are in at least one of the following audiences. So the people that are visited our website within 4 days, 180 days, or all the different times, and also time on site, all of that jazz. So we're going to exclude them from the funnel. So now you want to set up each time frame. So we want to do the 4-day, the 30-day, the 180-day, and the 365-day audiences in their own campaigns. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the 4-day campaign, and then we're going to change the audience to the 30-day versions of each of these custom audiences. So again, we've got the 30-day 75% video viewers here. Then we've got the 30-day Instagram engagers, the 30-day Facebook ads engagers, the 30-day Facebook engagers, the 30-day 3-second video viewers, and the 30-day Instagram savers. It's the same thing. You just want to make sure now that you exclude the 4-day version of those custom audiences, because we've just set up the 30-day, right? So what we want to do is we want to exclude these people because we don't want them included and muddying our results and muddying our data for the 30-day campaigns. And then what you want to do is you want to repeat this process for all of the 180 days and also the 365-day campaigns. And you can just follow this same process for those 2 different audiences as well. Now what we'll do is we'll move on to the warmer audiences, which is people who have visited the website. So what we want to do here is we want to create a one campaign for our 4-day audiences, and we want to create one ad set targeting people who have visited the website, and then another ad set for people who are in the top 25% of time spent on your website and landing page. Are you beginning to see how powerful this is? Most people are just creating a remarketing list for everyone that's viewed to their website. They don't get into this hyper segmentation of this remarketing. But this thing, it is absolutely incredible. So the power of this and what it will do to your cost per lead is completely obscene. So we want to create those 2 different ad sets for targeting the people that have just visited the website, and then another one for people that have visited, that are in that top 25% of time spent on the landing page or website. And then again, repeat this process for 30-day and 180-day campaigns for these 2 custom audiences types, okay? Now, you'll now have 7 campaigns that are passing your audiences down the funnel to our main goal, which is to opt in for our high value content offer, and then to book in a consultation and fill out a strategy session form and get on the phone with us and our team. Now, in terms of ad creative for these stages, because we've got multiple high value content offers running at all times, we run these campaigns with our best performing high value content offer ad variations in each ad set. So that if you don't have an opt-in for one offer, then they've come to the website, they've looked at it, but they haven't opted in, then we're going to hit them from another angle with another offer. And this, if you've only got one high value content offer, then you're just going to have to run with the one at this stage. And I do recommend just starting with one. So what we want to do is we've got the 4 day, the 30 days, the 180 days, the 4 days, the 30 days, the 180 days, and the 365 days, both on the warm and the hot traffic as well. So if you want to push your audience further down the funnel, you can use different creatives along the way, or you can build out your high value content offers that target different pain points or angles. And because you're going to be rolling with one high value content offer, that means that you're just going to use different creatives and different body copies to make sure that there's a good rotation of different creatives. And then you can basically persuade people with different kind of messaging and different copy to take the action that you want them to do, which is to either download your high value content offer and fill out their details, or to book in a consult with you and your team. Now, a warning: if you don't have big enough audiences, then you can't set up your remarketing like this, as the ads just won't deliver. Like, it's too segmented. So instead, what you can either do is you can use all of the 180 day and the 365 day audiences and then create those campaigns. So you just don't create the 4 day and the 30 day audiences, because they're just going to be way too small. The 180 day and the 365 day audiences, they'll still contain the 4 day and the 30 day visitors and the interactors that you've given to Facebook, but you're just going to have a much bigger pool of people to analyze and then deliver your ads to, which typically means better results. Again, you don't want to confine the algorithm too much and suffocate it. So this is only once you do have a big enough remarketing audiences. But hey, you can get started with 180 days and the 365 days using this strategy, and you'll still get phenomenal results. So that's what it would look like in your campaign. You just have those two audiences set up for both the warm and the hot traffic. And if your audiences are still too small to break your ads out, your ad sets out into different types of custom audiences, like the Instagram page engagers or the 3-second video viewers, then you can lump all of these audiences at 365 and 180 days together in just one ad set and exclude your leads and the consults from this. And then you should be able to deliver ads that way, because that's going to be as broad as you can really make it. And you want to make sure that you do exclude those leads and consults for the 180 days. Maybe not 365, as those people might jump back into the funnel and book in a call and something might have changed with them. Now, let's say absolute worst case scenario that your remarketing list is still too small. Then you're just going to have to wait until your cold traffic and your custom audiences have built up enough to run these audiences. So you've done enough, cold traffic campaigns that really that audience is getting built out further and further, and then you can start to run some remarketing. And it won't be long, depending on what the budget is that you've allocated it towards, when you can start to deploy these strategies and really start to get these things firing. Finally, we want to push those who have opted in to our high value content offer into our consultation, because we've got the people that have downloaded it, they're going through, they're using our marketing automation, the emails are getting drip fed out to them from our funnel, but we're not just going to rely on that. We're not going to rely that they're opening in our emails and they're all getting delivered. We're going to be hitting them from multiple angles, because as I was highlighted, like the user journey, it has fragmented, and you want to be coming at the audience from all different angles and not just relying off one channel to do the heavy lifting. You want to be using all of them to lift that load. And the best form of remarketing for these people who have downloaded your high value content offer but are yet to book in a consultation with you and your team is video testimonials. Because if somebody's downloaded your high value content offer, they've landed on your long form landing page, they're getting emails, but they're still yet to book in a call, that means that there has been some objections that we have not been able to answer. So what we need to start hitting these people with is clear, hard, unquestionable proof that your company is legitimate and that your service will work for them, right? So if you don't have like video testimonials and stuff like that, that, you need to start collecting it right now. Because your prospects, they're going to be getting going through your email funnel. So they're going to be getting all the value-based marketing for free via email that we're putting out to them. But really, this is just a whole nother dimension to hit them with, which is when you start layering on other people talking about how great your company is and the results that they're getting. So I'm going to assume that you do have that, or you have gone out there and collected it. And what we want to do is we want to create another campaign. So you want to use the same naming conventions as all the other campaigns. So the funnel stage, the offer, objective, cold tofu, or high value content offer, or website conversions leads, whatever it is that you want to call it. But use that same naming conventions here. And then you want to create an ad set for each testimonial video that you have. And this strategy works best if you have multiple testimonial videos. So if you've got one highlight reel with everyone in there, you want to split it out. You want to hit them with individual ones. So you can see here, these are a bunch of our client ones that we've got from a bunch of different clients, and we're hitting them at multiple different, they're watching one and then they're hitting the other one and they're hitting the other one. And there's just so much proof coming at them from all angles. And I find it's best to have the same ad duplicated 3 times within the same ad set. So you want to go ahead and do that and create this and then just duplicate it out. Now, the reason for this is that if the ad doesn't do well straight away, Facebook will categorize that ad as poor performance, and then they won't push it to those who are likely to convert. Where if you have you have that ad 3 times, it gives it 3 opportunities to convert before Facebook decides, hey, this ad's not performing, let me throttle the inventory that they're getting. So go ahead and just duplicate that ad out 3 times. Exact same ad, just duplicate it out. Now, for your targeting, you want to target your 180-day lead audiences plus any other subscribers to your database that you want to push to get on the phone with your sales team. And you want to add this to your targeting audiences for all the different ad sets. So you go add the 180-day and then go add whatever leads that you want to push this ad out to as well. Then we're going to have the 180-day strategy sessions. We've got to exclude these people because they've already booked in. We don't want to be wasting dollars on those people and pushing them through. So we're going to basically be excluding those complete registrations from all of the ad sets as well. Now, the only difference between the targeting of these ad sets is that you exclude anyone who has viewed the 3 seconds of the video testimonial in that ad set. So right in that individual ad set. So if someone watches 3 seconds, we're going to be pulling them out and then we're going to hit them with the next video testimonial. E.g., if that ad set is a testimonial A, you would exclude them from that ad set. So anyone who's viewed 3 seconds of the video testimonial A, we're going to exclude them from those audiences. And the reason that this is just so powerful is because it forces your hottest prospects to consume your proof without getting annoying. Like, how many times have you seen a Facebook ad that is just so repetitive and it's just the same thing trying to convince you over and over again, and there's no variation? Because if they've seen at least 3 seconds of that video, they either watch the entire thing and therefore they get removed and then we hit them with the next video testimonial, or they've watched it and they didn't enjoy it and they didn't want to see anymore and they just stopped it. So why would we keep trying to hit them with that same thing that they've either watched or they didn't watch because they didn't enjoy it? And the reason this is so powerful, it's like a sequential Facebook funnel that just goes at them. They see the first one, they either watch the whole thing or it doesn't appeal, then we remove them from that audience and then we hit them with the next ad and then the next ad and the next ad. And like, this is just going to go on for like as many videos testimonials as you have in that sequence. And anyone that's watched more than 3 seconds, bang, they hit with the next one next time they log into Facebook. And it just starts building this proof up and further up and further up and further up. And this thing is incredibly powerful. And you start to get prospects telling you on the telephone, like, wow, I've seen you everywhere. I've seen lots of people saying great things about you. And it's because we're covering them up. And we cover them up in what I call the King Kong blanket, where we've got emails going up and we've got remarketing going at them. There's video testimonial sequences coming at them. They really are getting hit from all different angles on all different mediums. And, they really can't escape it. And we start to get that effect where it's omnipresence and we are everywhere. So then basically what you just want to do is you just want to ensure that all of your campaigns are published and that they are delivering, and just monitor them to see that they are doing that. And now we'll move on to the optimization of these ads. So congratulations, your Facebook funnel is now live. You set up your cold traffic campaign, then we've got our remarketing going out and our video testimonials, and that's all out. And so once that is all out and you've published those campaigns and they're out in the wild, they're sucking in leads, they're generating appointments and strategy sessions for you and your team, now it's really important that we monitor and we optimize your ads. And we need to be looking at this like a hawk. So you can analyze and optimize your account on an account level. You can optimize it on a campaign level, an ad set level, and also at an ad level. So let me show you how you do that. So you've got the account overview. And so you basically click on this and it's going to give you the overall view of the entire account. And then what you're going to see here is we can click into this and then we get the campaign level up in this tab. And on this tab, so you're going to see all of the different campaigns that you're running. You got your cold audiences in there, you got your warm, and you've also got your hot. So then what we'll do is we'll click on this cold ad set, and then you're basically going to see on an ad set level how these ad sets are performing. And once you do this, then you can click in here and we can go and we can also have a look and we can see how the actual ads are performing. Now, on an ad level, I would like to look at the copy and the creative performance. So you want to filter your campaign by image one, and then you want to look at the volume of leads and the cost per lead. So you just come up on here. And then we can start to see, okay, cool. Well, look, this one, we've had 630 leads at $4.09. And you want to do that for each version of your copy. And if you've got enough data, you'll see that some variations will get you a much cheaper cost per lead than others. And you want to make sure that there is volume in there as well. Don't just look at the one lead that's come in at like $1.01. Like typically you want your variation to have spent at least 2 times your target cost per lead before you turn that thing off. So if you're targeting a cost per lead of say $10 and this thing spent $20 and it hasn't gotten a lead yet, then you really want to be turning off that. And you want to do the same thing for your headlines and your body copy, and then do the same thing for your ad sets and turn any off that have spent 2 to 4 times what your target cost per lead is, and turn it off. They are not under your campaign economics threshold and they're not going to work for you, right? So once you've identified your best performing copy and the creative combinations, then you can duplicate your ad sets and then you can run those combinations. So you'll have more insights into what copy and creative works best for your audiences, and you can use this as a base for recreating your new ads when they start to fatigue. And you'll know, okay, this is the kind of threshold. Like I'm targeting like a $4.09 cost per lead. That's what I'm kind of looking at, and you'll know which angles and which headlines are best performing, and you use that in your iterative process when you're moving through and you're trying to recreate ads and angles and hooks to kind of go out there and beat the controls. So now let's talk about tracking results. So really when it comes to tracking results, this isn't something that you can kind of just leave it to Facebook to kind of give you that accurate data and for you to look at yourself. You really need to be watching this yourself, and what you need to do with it is you need to be looking at these numbers and you need to be verifying that this is exactly what is happening, what Facebook is telling you. So the way that we do that is by using the King Kong Unit Economics Calculator. So let me run you through how this works. I've also given you this in the resources section of this module, so you can have a play around, after you watch this and you see how this whole thing functions. And not only are we kind of be setting up what our KPIs in here and making sure that our campaigns are within KPI, but we're also going to be tracking our results on a daily basis to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. So here we are, and we have got the Quantum Growth Facebook Ads Campaign Economics Calculator. And really what this shows us is we've got like 3 different KPIs that we can be aiming for. And look, if you want to aim for something beyond this, sure you can do that, but this is as typical in terms of what we see at all the different levels of scale. So first of all, like you got KPIs in here, and this is what it's going to do. So you can go in here and you can put in what your ad spend is and what it is that you're looking to budget for. And I've just put $2,000 in there for example's sake. And then you want to put your LTV, your lifetime value of a customer, in here as well. And then also what the profit margin is that you make off a customer. And then based off getting a 1 to 2 ROI, it will tell us how many sales and kind of what revenue that we're going to need to be producing in order to get that 1 to 2 ROI. And how many sales? So we're going to need to get 1.33 sales to get a 1 to 2. So for this, I'm going to go through to the 1 to 3 because this is kind of, typically you don't want to really be aiming for anything less than this. In my opinion, this is kind of where you want to be shooting for. So let me run you through this. So we're going to say that the ad spend is $2K, the LTV is $5K, profit margin is $3,000. So in order to get a $1 in, $3 out ROI, we are going to need to basically get 2 sales, and we're willing to spend $1,000 in order to acquire those sales. So $1,000 per customer is what our cost per acquisition is. And then you can start playing around and looking at what the close rate would need to be, how many consults you're going to need to be getting, and all of this. And I'm just going to run you through one by one. So you can see that if you come in here and you go, well, look, I'm experiencing right now that I have got more than just a 20% close rate. I have got a 30% close rate. So then we click on this, and then it's going to change what we would be willing to spend in order to get a consult and how many that we're going to need to get. But let's just keep this at 20%. So that would mean that we would need to get 10 consults at $200 per consult in order to be able to acquire 2 customers at $1,000 each and obviously get to the target that we want to of the 1 to 3 ROI. And then we have a conversion rate from lead to consult. So the people that are downloading our high value content offer and then booking in a consult at being 10%. And you'll notice that you might go, okay, cool. Well, like in my market, I'm getting them at 20%. Then immediately that's going to change what you'd be willing to spend in order to get a cost per lead and how many leads that you're going to need to get. But again, let's just keep it to this. So that means you get 100 opt-ins, and basically that the cost per opt-in is going to be the $20 that you've got here, the cost per lead. The conversion rate on the opt-in page is going to be 15%. Again, like that's a bare minimum. We see it being a lot higher than that. So let's just say that in your market with the headline that you write that it's 25%. So that means that you'd need to be getting like 471 link clicks on your ads with a cost per click of $4.25 and a CTR of 0.90%, and then you've got impressions of 52,000. You've got cost per 1 impression is 4 cents, and then a CPM of $38.25. So CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. And the reason that this is incredibly important to keep an eye on is this is the KPIs of your campaign, and you can know that, okay, with all things remaining constant, I can't be spending more than $4.25 cost per click, because unless some of these other metrics change, otherwise it's going to blow everything out for me. And if you know that you're running ads and you're only getting like a 0.20 like click-through rate, well, like the biggest way that you're going to be able to boost up all these numbers is by getting this to 0.9 or really kind of at that 1% mark. And this just changes everything along the road. So then you'll be using this as like the KPIs of what it is that you're shooting for. So for instance, you go, okay, we're spending $2,000 and for that we're acquiring 2 customers and it's costing us $1,000 as a cost per acquisition. And then the revenue that we're going to generate, which is our LTV, which is going to be $10,000, and the profit is $6,000. So the ROAS that we're getting here is 5. So the return on ad spend, where the ROI is 3. So you can start to have it play around. You might be shooting for these numbers, and whatever it is that you're going for, it's basically whatever the results that you get individually, you want to be benchmarking it against this and seeing how you are performing at every single micro stage of the funnel. And these are the ad metrics. So you want to be looking at them, and then you want to be looking at what is it costing expecting you to get the consults coming through from this channel, and really assess what is happening here. Then once you've kind of gone, okay, cool, well, I think, I'm going to be getting a 1 to 5 ROI. And you might be thinking, well, Sabri, why would I even go for a 1 to 2 or a 1 to 3? Like, why wouldn't I just shoot for a 1 to 5? And I'm going to explain that in just a moment. But for now, let's just say that your target is 1 to 3 ROI, i.e. putting $1 in and getting $3 back out. Then you've got your KPIs kind of established. Now what you want to do is in another tab down here, which you can't see in this video, but you'll see when you be able to download this economics calculator in the resources section of this module. Then what we have is, I'll zoom out of this so you can see the full spread. And basically what it is it's got all of like the metrics that we're going to be tracking. So you can change this drop down and you can go, oh, okay, cool, I'm targeting a 1 to 3. And then it's going to change all of these numbers across the board here, right? And this thing scrolls across. You can't get the whole thing in this video, but you'll get the picture when you download it and start to input your numbers in here. And then for each date, what you want to do is so this has got 2020. This is, you've basically got January and it's got the total, and then February and then the total. And you want to start putting in, okay, this is how much money that I spent here. So I spent $600 in ads. And then from there, you go, okay, cool. Did I get any sales? Yeah, I got 1 sale today. Fantastic. So then that's going to give you a CPA of $600. And it's going to automatically calculate this for you and go, cool. And then you might find, okay, here I only had a 10% close rate. And you can see, well, the benchmark in order to get a 1 to 3 ROI is 20%. So you really need to work on your sales ability, on the script. You need to look at why you're only closing at 10%. And then it's going to tell you, okay, cool. Well, I got 3 consults on this day. Sorry, that shouldn't be a dollar figure. We'll get that fixed. So basically from this, then it's going to tell you, okay, this is what the cost per consult is based on these numbers, the conversion rate lead to consult, leads, cost per lead, and conversion rate on the opt-in page. And you just put in all of your numbers. And you need to be tracking this every single day. This is your new world. This is how you're going to really be scaling up your business. And it's for those people that have a firm grip of the numbers. They're the ones that are able to confidently scale their ad spend. If they are looking at and they know what's going on across the board, they can also isolate any different variances that happen along the way. And they can see, okay, well, look, something's gone really crazy here because my cost per click is just blown up through the roof. Or something's happened along this way, my cost per lead is shot through the roof. And I'm getting way less link clicks than I did the day before for the same amount of ad spend. Like, what is going on? And it allows you to problem solve the funnel and problem shoot it and find out what's going on. And this is the least sexy stuff. Everyone wants to run, the crazy headlines and hooks and come up with all the creative images and stuff. But this is really the fundamentals that all of those play into. You really need to have a super firm grip of the numbers. I am looking at these things daily. I'm meeting with my team. I'm discussing them. I'm really thinking about this stuff obsessively in order to be able to scale. And you can go here and then you can get the benchmarks from 1 to 5. And it's just going to run you through. It's going to show you what you're shooting for, what's happening, and what the targets are. And this is just incredibly important. I can't stress this enough. And this is not like, oh, it's up to you if you want to do this. If you want to be successful, if you want this whole program to work for you, and if you want to get to the outcome that you want to, that you enrolled in this program for, you need to do this. And you need to do it every single day, every single month, and you need to be monitoring the progress that you're making every single month. That is how you really get a quantum leap in growth. It's by constantly assessing how you're performing, iterating and improving, and looking for any abnormalities and any trends and jumping on those when you can. And that's going to stop hemorrhaging in cash coming out of your bank account from your ad accounts. And it's also going to give you the confidence to be able to scale this thing up and know, okay, well, I'm putting $1 and I'm getting $5 out. Therefore, if I put $1,000 in, I'm going to get $5,000 coming back out. So I want to start putting, $5,000 and $10,000 and $50,000 and $100,000 into this thing until you reach like breaking point, until the thing is going to break down, which is going to bring me down into this next point. So before I mentioned Sabri, why on earth would I want to shoot for a 1 to 3? Is I could go for a 1 to 5 and I'd be making more money and everything would just be so much better. Well, let me run you through what you need to be thinking about and why these two kind of ROI metrics aren't created equal, and why, things are going to fatigue as you start to scale up. And at the end of the day, it's about more net dollars in your bank account. I see so many internet marketers and people in the marketing community talk about their insane ROIs, but these people are typically all broke. Like they spend $100 a day, or they spend like $50 or $10 a day, and they get some outrageous ROI because they get one high ticket sale. That's not the real game here, guys. We're here to scale 7 and 8 figure businesses, and when you do that, there are casualties of scale. So let me run you through exactly what it is that I am talking about. So what I'm talking about is ROAS versus scale. So it's very easy to get, a 10x ROAS if you're spending $10 a day. Because when you look at like how much the average client is worth to you, and you're looking at kind of what kind of return you're getting at the back end of your funnel, if the client is worth, $10,000 to you, you don't need to be spending much to generate, a 10x ROAS. But typically what you start to see is as you start to scale and as you start reaching out to colder audiences, that ROAS number is going to start to drop. So you might be running at very low scale, say making 5, 10 grand a month and getting a 10x ROAS. But if you want to break through and start making 100 grand a month, then that ROAS is typically going to drop, because as you scale, you reach out to colder audiences. Therefore, there's more wastage that is taking place. But the game that we're after is the return on capital. We want more net money in the bank account at the end of every month. It's not just about the ROAS and the return on ROI that you're getting, right? On each dollar that you put in, because at the end of the day, you can have a very high return on investment at a low scale where you're still producing like less net positive cash flow at the end of that 30-day period. So the game is to scale and start to ratchet that thing up. And as you ratchet it up, the ROAS is really going to start to drop, and you're going to go from 5 to 8, then to 5, and then to 3. And then depending on how aggressive your growth targets are and how well you run your business, you can even afford to go up to a $1 in and $2 out ROAS. And it all just comes with the mindset. If you're looking at these advertising channels as a customer acquisition channel and not a profit generating channel, then you're going to have a completely different, approach to these channels. And what I mean by that is you might be getting a 2x ROAS on the front end for the very first purchase that a customer buys with you. You might have some initial package that they buy at $1,000 or $2,000. But then if you know that 50% of your customers will buy the next package, like they will continue to work with you, say beyond 2 to 3 months, and you'll have another product or service that you introduce to them, and you might make $10,000 off that. So, you're breaking even on the front end, or you're making a little bit of money to cover the costs of everything on the front end. But then in 2 months' time, you're getting a $10,000 sale that is 100% profit because you've already acquired the customer, right? And this is how you can take complete violent control of your market and just terrorize the competition, is because they don't understand what is going on the back end of your operation. They just thinking, how on God's green earth is Sabri able to be so aggressive with his advertising? How is he everywhere? How everywhere that I look are people talking about him? Why do I see his ads everywhere? Why? And it's just a different mindset that you have if you're going for hyper growth and you're really trying to take a market. And I'm not saying that is going to be the approach that you're going to start with. And I highly recommend that you do not start with that approach. But I also want to give you the insights to what happens behind the scenes of real players. And you want to start and getting a healthy, ROAS in the beginning. 1 to 3 is healthy. 1 to 5 is definitely more than achievable, but you want to just monitor those things and see what they are for your market. And as you hit those different plateaus in your business and you want to ratchet up to the next level, you can't be super attached to what that percentage of ROAS is that you are generating from your ad spend, and just expect that to just remain the same as you begin to scale things out. You need to start looking at it from a different perspective and a different vantage point, so you can really go into this scaling game and you can allow your KPIs a little bit of wiggle room and stretching out, where you are not requiring a 5 ROAS if you're trying to ratchet it up to that next level. And the way that you do that is just by looking at those unit economics, getting a very firm grip of what's going on, what's happening, what the cost per lead and cost per consult is, what the cost to acquire a customer is. Like, I see people bragging about their cost per lead or bragging about what their ROAS is and all that kind of stuff. To be honest, none of that shit means anything. I would be more than happy to spend $50 as a cost per lead if my, return on capital was through the roof for that. So realistically, all of these KPIs that we're using, they are just used as dials and little metrics to understand the bigger picture at play. Because if you are only optimizing for the cost to acquire a customer and the net return on cash, it takes a long time to get that feedback to come back through the system and for that feedback loop to feed you the information that you need in order to be able to optimize a campaign. So we're going to be using these small micro KPIs along the way to make sure that, we can see, okay, look, my CTR is whack. So the headline must be crap, or this image must be crap. I need to change it out so I am within KPI. Or I'm getting lots of consults, but I'm literally only closing 1% of them or 5% of them. Okay, well then I really need to look at refining my script, looking at how I approach my follow-up, how quickly I call these leads, how available I am on my calendar, all of those kind of things. So you're not just kind of sitting there wondering like, why is this not working or why is this working very well? You can have a look and go, well, I'm way above KPI or I'm way below KPI. And you can track, measure, optimize, and iterate based on those KPIs and based on those metrics. So there you have it. Here is the resources section from this module. You've got all of these available to you in the resources section. You can download them. You can play around with this calendar. You can look at the hyper-segmented remarketing framework and revisit that for creating your audiences. And I've even included some more of the copywriting, mental models around pattern interrupts and unique hooks and specific benefits to create killer ads. And you've got all of that in there, and your copy split testing as well. So there's a lot of resources. Look through those. Now, the action items for this video is you want to get clear on your unit economics. That is the very first thing. There's no point setting up campaigns, doing anything like that if you're not clear on the outcome of what it is that your target is and what you're shooting. So start to plug in your numbers, start to look at what your profit margins is, what your LTV are, and get a firm grip on what those numbers are, and have a look at what your KPIs are going to need to be in order for you to deem your Facebook ads campaign a success. And then we've got creating your seed audiences. You need to go and extract, your list of customers. If you don't have any customers, then you're gonna have to start with cold audiences. But if you do, if you've got an email list, if you've got a customer list, start to segment them out and start to create your seed audiences to populate into Facebook Ads Manager. Then you wanna go through today's module again and go through it step by step, pause at every step of the way, and build out your first campaign. Then once that thing is live and out there in the wild, you wanna start split testing angles and ads and really having a look at what is the stimulus that you're putting in front of your marketplace that is reacting to that, and what is the most effective stimulus that you can put out there, and then start to go, okay, well, this is like an angle that really resonates with my market, and then trying to beat the control, trying to beat the best ads in those ad sets, and constantly whittle down those cost per leads, constantly increase the CTR on your ads, and make all of your metrics sing like a beautiful symphony. Then you want to track your results religiously. This is something that you need to be doing every single day. I want you to schedule a time in your calendar every single morning to track your results and look at how you did the day before. Put them all manually in there. This kind of discipline, it just ingrains in you. And these numbers, even if you're not a numbers person, you become a numbers person by exercising this every single day. And then what you want to do is learn and iterate. Once you're tracking those results, you're looking at what are the angles that are working, what are the ads, what are the images. You want to be feeding that into your algorithm and how you write copy and the headlines and the images that you use. And over time, this is going to compound and you're going to start to getting much better results. And then the cost to acquire a customer is going to get cheaper, and obviously everything else in that funnel. So the cost to get a consult, cost to get an opt-in, all those metrics are going to play in line, and it's going to basically result in you squeezing as much juice out of the orange as possible, and it's going to give you the confidence to go out there and keep scaling and keep ratcheting this up to get to the target of exactly where it is that you